All right, Diana from Wrap Your Baby here with a knotless front cross carry tutorial. A lot of you saw my reel about how convenient a poppable carry is. By the way, with winter coming, poppable carries are great, super fantastic carries to have. You can have it tied on under your coat. You can drive to the grocery store wherever you're going. Get baby out of the car seat. Your coat is unzipped. You put baby into the pre-tied carry, such as this knotless front cross carry. Zip or close your coat over both of you and into the grocery store. So with the season that is coming, this is going to be really useful, but it's useful all year round. Okay, so I'm going to use the same wrap I used in that reel, which a lot of you really were admiring. This is my earth wrap. I am out of stock, but I have asked for more to come. I just got word that they're actually on their way to me from Europe. And it's much earlier than I expected them, but that is what I'm told, so I should have them real soon. So let me know if you want to grab one of the earth wraps when they make it back into my store so I can make sure there is one for you. All right, I am using my base size wrap. If you have any questions about what your base size is, how to figure that out, what size wrap you need for any specific carry, let me know in the comments and I will help you sort that out. If you have a base size wrap, which means it's your full length size, you can use it for this carry. You should also be able to do this carry with a wrap that is one size smaller than your base size. A full front cross carry is a base size carry. This knotless front cross carry is a little shorter. It's also nicely adjustable, great for breastfeeding. Let's get into it. I've got the middle of my wrap and I am going to put it in the center of my back, bunched up. So it's going to be here on my lower back, bunched up. And I'm just holding that there while I cross this up over my torso. So earth has this nice gradation from this very earthy oatmeal white to a nice earthy brown. Look at that beautiful weave. I love this wrap. Okay, so I'm just going to hang that over my shoulder, and I've still got the center in my hand behind my back. So I'm going to reach and bring it around to the other side. So now I can let go with that hand. So the center of the wrap is bunched at my lower back. It comes around either side, crosses up to the opposite shoulder, and then this one crosses up to the opposite shoulder as well. Okay, so you got a cross on your front, and you've got a band sort of around your waist. Now, I like to see which cross I did first on my front, which is this one, right, coming under the second cross. And I like to make that the first cross on my back. That just helps me keep track of which cross is which on my back. If I want to know, I can always look at my front and know that it matches. So that is just a little hack that I do to make my life easier, and maybe it will be helpful to you. So I'm going to reach around underneath this one hanging down. So I'm reaching with my right hand around my right side of my back, underneath that wrap, and I'm going to find the top rail of the wrap coming over my shoulder and pull it across my back. If I want to make sure I've got the right rail, I can grab it up here and pull back and forth, seesaw, and I can tell that I don't have the wrap twisted behind my back. So I'm now going to gather that all up, and I can put it between my knees and do the same on the other one. So I'm going to reach now around my left hip with my left hand to grab the top rail of the wrap. Now, if I don't have a mirror, it's always easier with a mirror, so I recommend at least if you're outside, use the window of a car nearby or a shop for a mirror. But if you grab the wrong end and you do that trick to see if you've got the same end where I'm grabbing the top rail at my neck to make sure it's what I grabbed over here, if I pull on this, it's not pulling on this hand holding the top rail at all. See? It's because I have it twisted, so then I'll know I have it twisted. And what I can do if it's hard to find the correct edge is I can hang that all the way down my arm so only one edge is anywhere near me on my back. See how I would not accidentally grab the edge all the way over there? I can't even reach it with that hand. So that is a trick you can do if you do get the wrap twisted behind you, is just have one end up at your neck, the other end draped all the way down your arm while you reach behind, grab the closest end and pull it across your back. And I can check now. Yep. When I pull up on it, it's pulling my hand up, so that is the correct edge. And now we're not going to leave it draped down your arm, so now you can gather it up on your shoulder. Okay, and I will gather this all up to come around here. Okay, depending on the size of your baby, this bunched piece at your back is going to be higher or lower. It's going to be at the level that your baby's knees are going to be at. So if I was using my big toddler, I might want I might want that lower, and if I'm using my little baby demo doll that I'm using today, I'll want it a little higher. So before we adjust that, let's go ahead and just finish this knotless front cross carry. What you do with these, with a regular front cross carry, you tie in a double knot here. With this, we're doing knotless tucks right on this cross coming around each hip. So when you do a knotless tuck, the tail needs to come over the piece of wrap it's going around, and then under it. So in this case, it's going to come down over it. I'll put my hand through there. I want to make sure that this is not twisted as it comes through here. And I'm going to pull it up. So this knotless tuck at my waist coming from this cross on my back is going to go down over the cross that's at my hip and then back under it, and that is the knotless tuck. I'll show you it again on this side. Let's make sure to have this gathered up evenly before we do too much with it. It's going to come down over this pass and then up and under. And that is your knotless tuck. So this is the whole knotless front cross carry. It's already in position. We just have to put baby in and adjust it. So you can see it's got a cross on my front, cross on my back. It's got this band at your lower back and the knotless tucks on the side. That's the whole deal. So if I had a bigger baby, I might need to loosen these so I could bring this band lower, and then my baby's knees would be lower. For a smaller baby like I'm doing, I can have it a little higher because my baby's knees are probably going to be about right here. Now I'm guessing if you do this carry frequently, then you'll get used to what level to put it at for your size baby. And as they grow gradually, you'll adjust it so gradually you probably won't even notice, and you'll just keep a pace with them, and you'll always know what level to start it at. Let me pick up my baby now. All right, with any cross you're putting your baby in on the front, you lift baby up to your shoulder. You take the underneath cross and slide baby's leg through there and shift baby over to the other side so I can get baby's leg through the second cross. So one leg through one cross, one leg through the other. Each leg is under just one cross, and each leg has the cross, different cross going under it. So that is what it should look like. And you can take this moment to position your baby. Bring the knees up. So that was hanging down. You just gently bring the knee up. Make sure the knee's up on both sides so your baby is in a squat position. And their bottom is hanging down. So these bunches should both be in baby's knee pits, holding those knees up, holding that squat position while your baby's bottom sinks down. Getting your baby in position now can really help you to both picture the position baby's going to end up in and help get baby in that position when you start so that they're more likely to stay in that good position as you continue wrapping. Okay, this cross is the underneath one, so let's go ahead and spread that one around my baby. So I'm leaving all the extra width at the bottom. I'm just pulling up enough to come to the other knee. So each cross should be in both knee pits, which you can see from this one here. It goes to both of my baby's knees, and it should come up over both of baby's shoulders, unless you have a baby who's going to be arms out. If they don't need head support, they can be arms out like that, in which case it should just come up to the armpit and as high as it can across the back on its way to that other knee. This is a little baby. Let's say I'm going to do arms in. Okay, so I've got that first cross, and now I'm going to do the second cross. I'm going to find that top brown rail, spread it up over baby. So it starts with the whole wrap here in the knee pit. Brown rail is going to come across baby all the way to the other knee pit and up across baby's back, so it comes pretty much to both shoulders. Definitely covers this one, more or less up to this other shoulder. It's covering baby's entire back. And that's the positioning for baby. If you're, depending on how the tension was in the crosses before you put baby in, their legs may be hanging down more. You can gently push them up and get them in that nice position. And now all we need to do is tighten this. So my top brown rails are pretty snug, but my bottom whitish rails are pretty darn floppy. So tightening this is a specifically different skill because of the knotless tucks, and that it's different knotless tucks than you usually use because it's coming down from your back over this and then back under it. So let's do the tightening. I want to start with this bottom or underneath cross here is what I want to tighten first. So what I'm going to do is actually pull all the slack up in this carry. the slack all needs to go up across baby to your shoulders. That is not true in every front carry, so you need to know how to tighten each specific carry you're doing. Once I bring it up to the shoulders, it's coming over this shoulder, it's going to come down to this hip. So I'm going to turn around and let you see. It goes over the shoulder, and I can pull that slack down here. So the slack is up here, and when I pull it down, it tightens on my shoulder, and the slack moves down to here. Oh, okay, I can do this strand by strand at this point, so I might pull it all so I have all the slack here. Now I want to pull it through the knotless tuck. On my right hip, I'm going to reach around with my left hand to hold that slack down there, because if I let go, it might make its way back up to the front of the carry that I just moved it out of. So now I have this hand behind my back holding the slack down there, and this hand, my right hand on my right hip, can pull this up and pull slack out. Now there's so much more slack in the white parts, so let me grab the white part of this tail and pull that up, and it's pulling the slack right from my hand. Okay, now let's just see here. Now I can go through and I can sort of strand by strand, meaning take one bunch of wrap, move a few inches down the next bunch, and I'm being gentle here because I want to pull any slack through, but I don't want to pull so hard that something that's already well tightened is going to over tighten, because that will cause a pressure point that'll dig into you. So I tightened that first cross. Now we're going to do the second one, the one on top. Now for that, I actually want to when I do the second cross, I want to make sure I'm getting all the slack out of this bunched pass at my lower back, and you can see that's not well tightened. So that is slack that if I don't notice it's there when I'm tightening, it can later work its way into the front where my baby is and make the carry get loose, make my baby sag, make it get unsafe even. So I want to work all that slack through. It's kind of held in place by this knotless tuck. So this slack here needs to come through on this bunch here and then come up across baby. So if I saw there was slack in this white part back here, I can try grabbing the white part down here and pulling it through. So that's one way to do it. But what might be easier is once you've already tightened one half of it, on the second half, we can actually undo this knotless tuck for a moment. So to do that, I'm gonna lift the tail up and pull down here. I'm not going to try to pull it out by pulling up, it just locks it. So I lift the tail up and I pull down, and I'm holding that piece so I'm not letting my baby fall. And now that that's out of the way, I can move all this slack. I can grab it and pull it around and up over my baby. See how easy that was with that knotless tuck knot through there? So we're pulling it all in one direction towards the second cross, having already tightened the first cross. And I'm pulling all that slack up to the shoulder. And guess what this shoulder is attached to? It is the other end of this piece I'm holding. So if I'm pulling all the white slack up to here, I'm going to pull it now here. See that? So you can, you want to make sure nothing's twisted up on your neck, so you can just sort of walk through it with your fingers. Make sure it's all kind of evenly bunched. So that slack in the brown that's up here, I can pull it right here. See that? And then I can go through it strand by strand and get that pretty good. And you'll, of course, be able to adjust it more after you do the knotless tuck again, because the knotless tuck is very adjustable. So once I'm happy with that, I want to make sure that I'm happy with this bunched pass, as well as the pass over my baby up to my baby's shoulder. And then I can go ahead and do my knotless tuck again. It's going to be a little tougher to do now because we got this nice and snug. When we did the knotless tuck before baby was even in the wrap, there was lots of room to stick my hand through and do the tuck. So it's a little more snug now, but we can still do it. We're going to bring this pass down over the waist pass, reach my hand down through, squeeze my fingers in there to grab it, and pull it up under the waist pass. First it goes down over it and then up under it, and that's my knotless tuck. So now if I need to do any more finessing over here, I can still do that. Let's see. Yeah, see, it looks like there's a little slack there. So I'm going to pull it down in the white parts here, pull any slack that's on my shoulder, down to my hip, and I can use the hand on the other side of my body to reach behind and hold it as I'm doing that. Pull any slack down, Okay, so now my hand's gonna hold it down. My left hand on my left side of my body is gonna do the pulling it up through. So you're pulling up here to pull it through. Okay, so then go ahead, make sure your baby's well positioned, make sure your crosses are coming to both knees. You want both crosses coming to both knees, so I'm checking that underneath one. I'm pretty happy with that carry. I've got my knotless tucks. It looks like this. Spread on your back, and you're ready to go. Okay, say that you wanted to nurse in this carry and you want to lower it. So the trick to lowering is, I'm gonna just sort of lift that tail up, and my other hand is gonna grab the piece coming down across my back. I put my thumb through there, you guys see what I'm doing there? And this hand, wiggling down here, is gonna pull it down. Again, you have to pull down. Pulling up will not loosen it. So now all that looseness, that's gonna let my baby sink down. So let's do the same on this side. If I try to pull it up here, that's just like tightening the knotless tuck, or at least it's not gonna budge real easy. So if I lift this up and then pull down with this hand, then I can get that to slide down that way, and there's more slack there. So now I'm gonna carefully bounce baby down, move that whole waist belt down, and that slack I allowed into that gives me more slack to move the whole thing lower so I can latch on to nurse. Now, if you're gonna try to be hands-free, you're definitely gonna have to strand by strand tighten around baby once they're latched on in that nursing position. If you don't wanna bother with that, you can just keep your hand there supporting baby's head while they're nursing. And then when they're done, you would tighten up again. So let me move I'm sort of moving my waistband up when I move my baby's bottom up, because remember, that's gonna be right at the level of my baby's knees. So if I'm moving my baby up, I need to move that waistband up, and then I can tighten each of these crosses again, starting with the underneath one, going over this shoulder. So I'm holding my baby up. All that slack is kind of there already. I'm now going to pull it over to here, and then I'll use this hand to hold it, and this hand to pull that slack that's down there under my hand up and through. I can do strand by strand after I do both crosses generally. So I was able to take my hand off my baby because this one cross was holding them up there pretty well, so that I could hold that back there for a moment. And now I again want to make sure I don't have any slack in this waist belt, and I don't. But if I did pull any of it up over baby to my shoulder, lots of slack, and I can pull that slack down with this hand, and then reach around with this hand, and now my baby's held securely because my hand's holding the slack right now, so that wrap is supporting baby. I'm holding it down here so that this hand can pull it up through. Will you guys let me know if this is making sense or if it's like hard to follow? Because it is simple when you learn it, and I want to make sure I'm showing what I'm doing well enough that you feel like you would be able to do this. Also, let me know if you have any questions about it. Okay, now with any front cross carry, I wanted to mention you can flip shoulders if you feel like the wrap is covering your baby's face too much, because you want to always have your baby's face clear so that they're not just rebreathing stale air in there that they've breathed out. They're getting fresh oxygen. You want their face clear, and also so that you can look down and see their face at any time and visibly be checking on their safety and well-being. So you can flip shoulders when you're creating this carry. I think that's going to be part of a different tutorial another time, but let me know if you want to know how to build this carry with flips in it so that these two spots here are held sort of like that, and it makes room for baby's face. But if you did it this way, and then you are finding you need to do something to free up your baby's face, I would say the easy thing you can do after having already done the carry is reach under the strap on the side that your baby's face is on, grab that rail that's closest to your neck and closest to baby's face, and you can pull it out and underneath the rest of the strap, so we are sort of flipping the shoulder after the fact. Now this won't be as comfortable as if you had built the carry with flips built in, because it does pinch it there, so now there's lots of room for baby's face, but it also creates another pinch on your back so that the cross isn't able to spread wide and flat on your back like this one is. The other one is. Okay, so yes, the one bottom here, top here, that one's spread wide and flat, and this one has a pinch in the back as well. So, but you can do that, and that will solve that problem for the carry you've already created there. Okay, Amy Burke says, the piece closest to their face is always super loose for me. Well, since I was just showing the flip, let me say that that will actually take up some of the slack in the top rail. So if you're going to do that flip anyway, that can solve that. But let me unflip it and just talk about how you tighten that piece. So this is too loose, like it is right now, and I need to tighten it on this side. Here's how you do any of your tightening for this carry with the knotless tucks in the front cross carry. You know, pull all the slack up to your shoulder. Use your other hand to bring the slack. See, it's the brown rail, so I've got the same rail, and I'm going to pull it down from my shoulder. So pull it up to my shoulder here, and then this hand pulls it down. So it should get nice and snug on your shoulder. So make sure you get it so it's comfortable, not tighter than the rest of the wrap, but evenly tight with the whole wrap bunched on your shoulder, so that that's comfortable for you. So now I'm holding the slack down here. My thumb is in that top brown rail. I can just find, in fact, let me switch hands. I'm on my left hip. I'm going to use my right hand to hold the slack down here. That's the easier way for me to then use my left hand on my left hip here and pull that brown rail up. And it'll come out of my hand here as I'm doing that. And that takes the slack up. And then that should be nice and snug. If it gets loose again, well, a couple of things. If your knotless tuck is slipping, you might have a slippery wrap, or you might have done the tuck wrong. So do check that your knotless tuck isn't just slipping by itself. So if I tried to pull up on this and I can pull slack in it, then it's not going to hold securely. But I can't. Like, pulling up is not, it's not budging when I do that, so I know that that is holding well. The other place slack can be coming from is this bunched piece, the center of the wrap that you started on your back. If you didn't get all the slack out of it before, if it's this top rail, then maybe there is slack in the brown rail on that bunch on your back, and you should just give extra attention to pulling it out, feeding it up, and then doing the same thing, feeding it down through the knotless tuck so that that is out. So let me know if you give that a try, Amy. Let me know if that helps solve that problem. Okay, Savannah would love to learn how to flip. I too have issues with the rail closest to my baby's face, neck, depending on the carry. All right, so try what I just shared for Amy, Savannah. Let me know if that helps. And I gotta end this live pretty soon, but I can do one on flipping sometime soon in this carry or similar carries. All right, let me see what other questions I have. Is there a way to make a wrap not slippery, or does it just depend on the fabric? That's just the fabric. It could be made out of different materials, have a different weave. So if you have a wrap that doesn't work well for knotless tucks, that's important to know. So you just would not do carries with knotless tucks. And if so, you would want to probably stick with carries that have a double knot to secure it. And then if you were going to get a second wrap, you might look for a wrap with different qualities, because some people like a slippery wrap. Some people like a grippier wrap. Some people like having the different options for different ways of finishing in different carries. Any tips as to getting my baby's legs in the correct position while in the wrap? He has marks from the wrap after I take him off. Okay, well, the positioning you want is straddling you. Now, if for anyone who's watching who has a newborn, this would be a much narrower straddle. So I'm just going to take this widely spread cross and bunch it. And then I'm going to take the one under that and bunch it. So it makes a much more narrow seat, because a wrap, the full width of this wrap, by the way, I said at the beginning, this is my full length base size wrap, and it's longer than I need for the carry. So see, I have these lovely long tails. The full width of the wrap is much wider than my baby is, much wider, right? So I have just like some of the brown spreads over from knee to knee, and the rest just bunches here. So however wide your baby is, any extra can just bunch at the bottom. So if we have a narrower baby, that just means we're going to have a narrower spread wrap. It customizes to your baby. So say this baby was more of a newborn, not ready to straddle yet, under 3 or 4 months, then their knees are going to be much closer together. And I will just bunch this fabric together as much as I need to make the seat as narrow as my baby needs it to be. Okay. That said, whether you have a newborn with a newborn straddle or a full, wider straddle that babies usually have from about 4 months up, their knees are going to be up so that their bottom can sink down lower than their knees. And regardless of how wide you are, they're going to be straddling in front of you. My baby's knees are not as wide as I am, so it doesn't matter if I'm skinnier or wider. They're just going to be in a straddle around me, sort of. Their knees cling against you, like picture a baby chimpanzee, okay? And their arms kind of do the same too, right? They tend to have their elbows down and their arms up, like they're clinging like a little tree frog. That's sort of the position. And you don't have to worry. They can have their arms however they want. But often that is the position they'll be in. They're just like curled up. And I'm going to go ahead and spread this again for an older baby. So if they don't seem to be that way, if say their legs are hanging straight down, you can fix it. You just gently take their lower legs, push the knees up, and even go ahead and try to push the knees up and down so as to rotate their pelvis so that it curls up towards you, and then bring the wrap out to the knees so that it holds the knees up. And if it's not holding the knees up, you probably need to tighten this bunch so it will. If this bunch is too loose, then it'll hold the knees lower, but it should be holding the knees up. So go ahead and gently push the knees up and rotate like that, and that should get your baby in a nice good seat. If you've tightened this too much so that it's holding their bottoms up high, they won't be able to get a good seat. You need to have the part holding their knees needs to be tighter than the part their bottom's sinking down into, or there won't be anything for their bottom to sink down into. Now, it will be evenly tightened over their backs, bottoms, and back of the knees. So I'm not saying that you want like looseness or slack here. You just want to tighten around their bottom being lower rather than tighten around their bottom being higher. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if that helps, Andrea. And oftentimes, marks sometimes mean that there's too much weight on the back of their knees, and that can mean that it's not snugly tightened around their backs and bottoms evenly. Because if this was loose, this part here, then this would be holding all their weight, and that might dig in more and make marks. But if you get this nice and snug, then they should have support from the wrap holding their whole torso against you and not have their weight hanging on their knees. That said, I'm wearing socks right now. I probably have red marks if I take my socks off. Sometimes snug material makes red marks that are not a problem. So if you're not seeing any indication that your baby's uncomfortable, if there's nothing alarming, it's just like red marks, like you sometimes have red sheet marks when you wake up in the morning, I would not worry about that. All right. Is it normal for my shoulders to start to hurt when baby wearing? Sky, we do not want your shoulders hurting when baby wearing. So there's a couple of things that could be, but you should definitely be aiming to fix that and not be like a martyr who just lives with it because it's good for your baby. Wrapping is so good for your baby, but it should be just as helpful and comfortable and relieving for you. It should give your arms a break. It should allow you to get things done and stay close to your baby and fill your baby's needs so you don't have a crying baby. It's here to make your life easier as well as your baby's life happier. So we don't want you to baby wear through the pain. Okay, so if you're new to baby wearing, there may be a few days where your shoulders are kind of sore because you're just not used to carrying your baby's weight on your shoulders. That wouldn't be very severe and it would go away quickly. So that is one possibility, especially if you're not starting at newborn. If you're starting at newborn, they're obviously lighter at newborn. That's the lightest they're ever going to be. And then as they grow, if you're wrapping them every day, your muscles are getting used to it and getting stronger every day. So you never notice a point where they suddenly feel heavy. But if you are starting later when they already are kind of heftier, then that could certainly be a little bit hurting as you adjust to it. Very often, though, it's uneven tightening, which is to say, we talk about like these different pieces that make up the width of the wrap here. By the way, this is only loose because I put it down off my shoulder. So when you do this carry, make sure you keep it on top of your shoulder, and that keeps your baby's knee up. If I bring it down here, my baby's leg can slide down. But I want to show you the width of it. We talk about these different pieces of the width as strands. So like you might say every few inches is a strand. You could think of every single like line in this beautiful weave being a strand. That would be a lot of strands. But we talk about strands in wrapping because we want the strands even, and we do strand by strand tightening to accomplish that, which means you gather up, you tighten one piece and then a few inches down the next piece and then a few inches down, and you're pulling all the slack out as you do each piece. And that helps you to evenly tighten it so that you won't have any of these pieces digging into your shoulder more or less than the ones next to it. So if some of it's tighter than another part, that's going to dig in and be uncomfortable. Also, if it's too loose or any part of it is too loose, that is going to make your baby's weight pull on you heavily, and that can make it really tough on the shoulders. A third thing you can think about is your posture, by the way. Sometimes this happens a lot with back carries. If you're new to back carries, you might find yourself leaning forward like you're a little bit worried and you want to keep your baby on your back. If you walk around leaning forward all day, oh, that's going to hurt tomorrow. But that's true in front carries also. So as you're tightening or after you've tightened, you can go ahead and like roll your shoulders front and back and sort of find a neutral position. Find the neutral position for your shoulders and make sure that the wrap is comfortable on that so it's not pulling your shoulders forward hunched. If I was in this hunched position when I tightened, then it might just hold me in that hunched position, or my shoulders back and me leaning back. So do pay attention to putting your shoulders in a neutral position, either while you're tightening, or you can probably do it after you've tightened, as long as you didn't tighten so much that it's holding you in bad posture. So check that. Of course, always think about that string coming up from the top of your head. It's attached to the ceiling, holding your head up straight, and that can make a big difference as well. So I hope that one of those things will help. The tightening thing is the one that's a wrapping technique that you can just practice and get better at. But if you find that your baby's wrapped up and you can press them against your chest, like there was room between your chest and your baby's chest that you could push them forward and it creates slack in the wrap, then probably it's too loose or part of it is too loose, and that's probably what's contributing to that. So practice that. Okay, let me know if that answers that, Sky. Let's see. Oh, you're very welcome, Andrea. And I don't think I missed any questions, but I will check the comments when I'm done with the live. Actually, I'm not sure if it saves these comments. So if I didn't get to your question, just go ahead when this is posted on my Instagram wall. Go ahead and post your question again so I can get to it. All right. Thank you for attending today's session of Wrap Your Baby. It's a lot of fun. Until the next time, happy wrapping.